We're going to wrap up a 26-22 win for the Dogs over Missouri. Uh, look, Georgia just did not play well tonight. Kirby talked about how Missouri whipped their ass on the line. And I think there's certainly a lot of truth to that. There was plenty of fight from Missouri. I thought it was a really positive game for them. Georgia was not. They just didn't play well, and they won. But you can't keep kicking field goals. You can't, Jack Panesley has had both kickers were unbelievably good. So you can't fault Georgia for winning. I did think they were going to lose this game at one point in the third quarter. I think they were down. They were down 19-9 when Mebus kicked a 52-yarder. That really felt like a really big moment for Missouri. But the last, quarter of the game was dominated by Georgia. I don't have the fourth quarter statistics, but Georgia entered the fourth quarter down 10. Is that right? No, they were down a touchdown. And they scored 2 touchdowns. They had to, but they did. And this run game is not where it needs to be. Listen, I watch a lot of college football, and last weekend I stayed up to watch SC play at Oregon State, and they survived. It was actually more dramatic than this. It really looked like USC was going to lose. But now we've seen, of the top 3 teams in the country, we've seen Georgia go on the road and survive. We've seen Alabama go on the road and survive. And I don't know that I would say Ohio State survived against Notre Dame, but it was something like that. And, we're 5 games into this. Those 3 teams look like they're clearly the best 3 teams in the country. I don't know how you would rank them, but I wouldn't confuse, Alabama's performance today with, I would not move Alabama in front of Georgia. I think if you want to move Ohio State in front of Georgia, that's a different conversation. I did not watch Ohio State play today, though. But I thought Missouri really played well, but they did not have 300 yards of total offense, which is amazing. This game, the only 2 teams I think that can beat Georgia are Ohio State and Alabama. But there's a third team, and its name happens to be Georgia as well. And this is a part of the maturation of a program when you are not just demolishing everybody. There will come times when you have to just find out how to win games. I mean, it's just that simple. And, Georgia did that tonight. I've been here, in 12, which was the Jarvis game. They won that going away. And tonight you saw younger guys having to really grow up in that moment where there was Malachi Starks, Edwards on offense. I mean, Pop had a huge game, I feel like. Yeah, he 8 tackles, 7 of which were unassisted. Malachi was 6. Small Munham was hurt immediately in the game. I heard him talking about how his ankle was hurt. But Georgia's not real crisp, right? Like Stetson, this was not a great night for Stetson. 24 of 44, 312 yards. The fumble, I did not see the fumble, so I would have to go back and look. But if you look at the stat sheet, I wouldn't say Georgia dominated Mizzou because I watched the game, but they just that fourth quarter really mattered. I'd be curious, and I don't have it with me here. What happened going into the fourth? Because that fourth quarter was deadly for Missouri, and so these fans are pretty lenient, is I guess the way I would put it, on their team. And they really did not think they were going to win this game until about the third quarter. And you could feel it. And once Georgia took the lead, which did not happen until, well, 4 minutes to go. But let's just say with about 10 minutes to go, when Kendall scored and cut the game to 3, that's when you could feel the stadium kind of like they've seen this before. And it was just like an old Mark Richt team against South Carolina, and just like kind of break their hearts late. And it was similar to that here tonight. Um, I do want to say, Missouri's been in the league for 10 years. There are still things they have got to get better at in terms of just stuff. And I'm not specifically talking about media, but it would be more ideal. You should have seen where we were filming Kirby Smart. It was, I don't know how to describe it, but, and then, there were other things that I'm not going to really go into detail that multiple people from the program talked about that they were pretty pissy about, and I think understandably so. But you got out there with the win. I think Kirby and Drinkwitz are obviously kind of buddies because they shared some time after the game, like after the game. So after the game, I don't know if this kind of came across on television or not, but like something there was some stuff before the game which I completely missed, but there was some stuff after the game that was just like way too chippy, and so the Georgia coaches, including Kirby, immediately got in there and pushed their guys to the locker room, and so the traditional sort of handshakes that didn't happen in this game, and so Drinkwitz and Kirby did not see each other until almost an hour after the game. It wasn't a big deal. It was not James Franklin, Todd Grantham, but it was like in that universe of time. But look, Georgia's going to be a significant favorite over Auburn. I don't know if Auburn won tonight. Let me check right now. But the number one way to handle your business is they lost. Okay. So the number one way to handle your business is, I would say the number one problem right now are the turnovers. All of a sudden, Georgia went from getting them to not getting them, and from not turning it over to turning it over. So we're 5 games into this, and my math is right. They've got 5 total turnovers this season. I think that's right. So 1 a game is not the end of the world. That's kind of common, but there were some opportunities. Pop had a shot at one. I think Christopher Smith had a shot at one, but they're going to need to play better. There's no question about that. But it's the dichotomy here is, you don't want to sit there and like freak out and say, oh, this is it's not tragic. Sometimes you have to win playing your worst, game. I'll tell a quick story. We took a giant L last night, Dog Post. I made a reservation for a hotel in Columbia. When I got there, they said I didn't have a reservation. When I showed them the reservation, they said they still didn't have a reservation. When I showed them the confirmation number, they were acting like there was nothing they could do. They started calling around, what the hell are we taking reservations for if you don't fulfill it? So it was what it was. We left. We went to Jefferson City. I think we got the last hotel room, and we probably got scabies in the process, but we just moved on. You're not going to have great moments all the time. Now, it is definitely concerning because I don't know about from the first game. Georgia's performance, though, after they got left Columbia, they have regressed. There's no question about that. And I still think this is the easy portion, if you want to call it that, of the schedule. But tonight wasn't easy. There was nothing easy about tonight. And, the way Missouri played was they stuck in there and they fought. They had a couple of extra drives because of the turnovers. They had the big pop play, which Malachi Starks, needs to be given credit for getting the job done there. But I think Jack Penesley, I do not know Missouri's kicker's first name, but bro was stroking it. 52-yarder, 56-yarder. I mean, that's just really good football, kicking the ball like that. I mean, guys aren't going to make 50-yarders. And, that's 6 points, and they scored 22. So, you can kind of do the math there. This game would be ugly, but it wouldn't be nearly as, this team right now is not respecting the football the way that they need to. It is the whole game. And that's the part where they've got to get better. Now, Kirby post game, he wasn't sitting there going bonkers. He was just kind of doing his thing, saying, hey, we got to get better. But this was a gritty win for Georgia. And they didn't have one of those in 21, but they were too good in 21. This team isn't like that, okay? They're going to have to grind it out. And of the pantheon of teams out there, there is no one team of the three that is just so much better that they can roll it out there. That's one thing Stetson talked about tonight. No one's going to, you're not just going to run for the hills because the dogs are coming. You got to beat people, and that's what happened tonight. Now, again, you get down 13-0 with a quarter and a half gone, and it could have been worse. It could have been worse. This defense really, really bowed its necks more than a few times. And 1, 2, 3, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The guy kicked 5 field goals, y'all. Missouri, they only scored, I think, 2 touchdowns. Is that right? 1? Did they only score 1 touchdown? That can't be right. So did they only score 1 touchdown? Yeah, they did. And that. If you are a team, you get to win however your team can win. You don't take points away because, your kicker is really good, or because, you got turnovers, or because your field goal kicker is consistently making kicks. You get to win however. And if that means you run a guy down and stop him on like the 1, Missouri had to kick a field goal there, y'all. That was a big deal. That was 4 points. Georgia won this game by 4 points. They may have come down and kicked a field goal right at the end. I don't know, but that matters. The 2 field goal. I can't remember all of but I think Missouri scored at least 3 points, if not 10, off of the turnovers. So this is a really good team. This team can win the national championship. They can. This team cannot win the national championship playing like it did tonight. And, you watched – I didn't get to watch any of the primetime stuff, but, you watch Alabama play Texas. They're not going to win the national championship if they play like that. They're not. And honestly, they're not going to win the national championship if they play like they did a lot during the Arkansas game. There were times in that game where that was dicey, and then they flooded them at the end. Clemson can't play the way they have a lot of this season and win the national championship. It's just not good enough. So, Georgia has, had a lot of peaks in this season already, 5 games into it, the way they put against really the first 3 games of the season. And now tonight would be the Valley, a 4-point win on the road, a closeout win against Mizzou. It does need to improve. It does. There are a lot of things. The number one thing are the turnovers, and that to me a little bit will correct itself. But you can't. It's not always about screaming at guys and being like, "Hey, do it right," or no. You got to get them there too. You got to. It's screaming only works so much. You have to have a relationship with these guys and get the job done, or you're not doing a good job as a coach. So I didn't see tons of screaming. I did not. And also too, when they came out in the second half, Georgia had more energy, I think. And everybody can't be Nolan Smith all the time. That's not. Everybody cannot be Nolan, but this team has got to. Respect the ball is the number one thing. But man, damn, I'm just looking at these run game. Kenny 10 for 71, Kendall 8 for 64. 10 for 65 for Kenny, 8 for 61 for Kendall, and then 10 for 51 for Dejon Edwards. That's 6.5, 7.6, and 5.1 in the run game. It seems like it's not consistent though, but when they really needed a run, they ran all over them in the fourth quarter, man. And that's what the depth is all about. You got to play better. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. They just got to play better. But they won this game tonight because of the toughness they've developed over time. The bulk of that game was ugly, but the end result was a gritty win over a team that was ready to play tonight. No, Missouri is not good. They are not. But they were ready to play tonight. And the fans were given something, to be happy about. Georgia immediately did not come out well. And you get down 10-0 and 13-0 and midway through the second. These folks, they're homey, and and I think there was a polka. There was a waltz. I mean, that's what Missouri is. So, but they love their team, and they want them to win. And if you give them a chance to get rowdy and loud, they're going to do it. So for me tonight, it was a big deal win. It was just like the win against Kentucky in 2012. That was a lot like what this was. Like, they had to grind that out. And I didn't think Stetson would have 300 yards tonight passing, but he did at the end of the day. And he did not play. This was not peak Stetson Bennett. They were off a little bit. If they're not off, they're probably scoring. I mean, it sounds like crazy, but they probably score 40 points. And it's just what it is. Anyway, signing off from Middle Earth, Dean Legge. Georgia wins a tight one. Make sure you get DAWGSTRUCTION. The link is down below.